Namaskar, good evening. You are watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with News Tonight. Let's begin the bulletin with the top headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to leave for Singapore for 13th East Asia Summit will be the first head of government to address financial technology event, the Singapore FinTech Festival, bilateral meeting with US Vice President Mike Pence, participation in the second Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership meeting also on the agenda. Centre extends ban on 8 rebel groups in Manipur for 5 more years. Outlawed organizations include the People's Liberation Army, PLA, the Revolutionary People's Front, among others. Supreme Court to hear on January 22nd review petitions against a verdict allowing entry of women of all ages to Sabrimala temple, refuses to order stay on its earlier decision. Union Minister Ananthkumars cremated with full state honours in Bengaluru. Vice President, Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers pay tributes. Hundreds of mourners line up the street for last glimpse of the leader. And dissolution of Sri Lanka's parliament on hold till next month. Supreme Court stays President Maithripala Sirisena's decision on technical grounds. Top court delivers order on petitions filed by supporters of coalition Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Our top focus tonight, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the ongoing ASEAN, India and East Asia summits in Singapore from Wednesday. Ahead of his departure, the Prime Minister said the summit symbolized India's continued commitment to strengthen engagements with ASEAN member states and with the wider Indo-Pacific region. During the visit, the Prime Minister will also interact with participants and winners of the joint India-Singapore hackathon.
As ASEAN is an important part of India's Act East policy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will articulate his vision for further deepening India's relationship with Southeast and East Asian neighbours. On this occasion, he will also meet US Vice President Mike Pence, among other leaders, including Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong.
Act East policy, we have continued engagement with our eastern neighbours. The ASEAN region, together with India, is actually one of the most dynamic economic spaces today. If you look at it, we have a combined population of 1.9 billion, which is a quarter of the world's population, and the combined GDP of 5 trillion. So India-ASEAN is essentially a very important economic blocking.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the East Asia Summit on 15 November. On 14 November, Prime Minister Modi will deliver a keynote address at the FinTech Festival, the first head of government to do so. The festival, now in its third edition, is one of the largest events on financial technology and will see participation from Indian companies as well. On the same day, Prime Minister Modi will felicitate the winners and participants of the India-Singapore hackathon, conducted jointly by the All India Council for Technical Education and Nanyang Technology University of Singapore. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And for more on this, we'll go across to Mr. Sheel Kant Sharma, former diplomat. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to Rajya Sabha television. Sir, what is on the agenda of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the East Asia and India at the ASEAN summit?
I think Prime Minister's statement about enhancing and increasing the sharing and the partnership between India and ASEAN and the larger Indo-Pacific region and the countries of East Asia is very succinct expression of India's continued thrust on its Act East policy. And this particular event is also important because in the side meetings there has been a very advanced discussion on the CEPC, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership in Southeast Asia in India. So that discussion is also moving forward. Then there is this FinTech summit which he is going to address in Singapore tomorrow, and then his address on the 15th to the East Asia Summit. There used to be also a separate summit with India, but a summit has already taken place this year when the ASEAN heads were invited for our Republic Day celebrations in January, this year. So, but in some other form, the Prime Minister will be meeting the ASEAN heads. So, in the context of FinTech. So, this is the gathering which has now, over the last several years, gained tremendous momentum. And each meeting is more engaging, more fruitful, and the vistas that they cover have been expanding and deepening. Like technology, for instance, is one of the prime movers bringing together India and ASEAN countries. And the whole, the exhibition in Singapore and this FinTech is about financial technology technology in the field of financial sector. So the vibes which are coming from the summit and its preparations and the pre-summit. Before the summit, the ASEAN summit takes place. So that summit took place today. And the speech by the Singapore Prime Minister as the host is very expressive of the commitment to multilateralism, which India also has always strongly supported. And the continuing present day challenges which compel all these countries to be more attuned to a multilateral solution to the common problems affecting humankind. So the emphasis of the Singapore Prime Minister on some of these issues like climate change and also the non-traditional threats to security in our region like terrorism and drug trafficking. These are all very critical areas in which today's world needs multilateral action and no single country can really decide things. And I think that tone is very interesting, and the Singapore Prime Minister's speech, it has a lot of common elements with our own approach, India's approach, like free trade and opening the lanes of communications and the importance of the whole this Indo-Pacific for global trade and an unrestrained movement of maritime commerce. So these are the areas which will continue to occupy the minds of the summiteers tomorrow and day after.
Mr. Sharma, also not forgetting this very interesting fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be the first head of the government to address the financial technology event there. So this event holds a lot of significance for India also.
Yes, that is true, because in India, the emphasis on digital, this whole digital transformation of our financial sector has been consistent over the past several years. And in recent years, the momentum for that has also increased. And that is the call of the day today, because the developed countries today, the digitization has progressed very far. And as you would have seen the sound bites and the video clippings coming from Singapore, the kind of high technology they are now using for many things. So our financial sector does loom large in ASEAN and in East Asia as among the third or fourth country with the highest rate of growth and third largest economy. So financial technology is an important dimension. Prime Minister is
absolutely
is speaking on that tomorrow, and they will all be bearing. Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Sharma, very quick, my last question to you. What is India's stand on the regional comprehensive economic partnership?
I feel that this is a negotiating process, and in that process, they are going through it. So they only the negotiators can actually spell out the stand. I would say that there is a lot of give and take in this whole process, and that give and take reflects itself in the negotiations. So India is, in principle for an RCEP, but there are a lot of minutiae on which work is underway, and there is an emphasis on conclusion, for instance. So that bit, I think it will be better to leave it to our negotiators and wait for their own comments on that. I would feel a bit hesitant at this juncture to talk about the details in this regard.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for joining us and helping us understand all those details on that very important international development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remember, will attend the ongoing ASEAN-India Summit and East Asia Summits in Singapore, which will commence from Wednesday. Moving on to some other developments, the government has extended the ban on 8 extremist groups in Manipur for 5 more years under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The organizations banned include People's Liberation Army, Revolutionary People's Front, Manipur People's Army, KCP. In a Gazette notification, Home Ministry said that the activities of these extremist organizations are considered detrimental to the sovereignty and integrity of the country, and they are unlawful associations. The ministry said that these organizations are involved in 756 violent incidents in the last 5 years. On to some more developments, the Supreme Court agreed to hear a batch of review petitions against its earlier verdict allowing entry of women of all ages into the Sabrimala temple. The top court will hear the petitions on January 22nd in an open court. However, the Supreme Court refused to stay its September 28th verdict. Earlier in the day, the top court also made it clear that fresh pleas related to Sabrimala temple will be heard only after it decides the earlier petitions. 49 petitions have been filed seeking review of the Supreme Court judgment. On September 28th, a 5-judge constitution bench headed by then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra delivered a 4:1 verdict on Sabrimala Rao. The verdict paved the way for entry of women of all ages into the Sabrimala temple, saying the ban amounted to gender discrimination. The Supreme Court will hear final arguments in the income tax case against Congress President Rahul Gandhi and his mother Sonia Gandhi on 4th of December. The court today fixed the date for final arguments on petitions filed by Rahul and Sonia Gandhi, challenging the Delhi High Court order refusing to give them relief in a case of reopening of their tax assessments for 2011 and 12. The income tax matter against Congress leaders is linked to the National Herald case, in which they are also facing a criminal case. Meanwhile, the Delhi High Court on Tuesday said there is no urgency in the plea of Associated Journals Limited, publisher of the National Herald newspaper, against the centre's order asking it to vacate its premises. The court said it will hear the AJL's plea on November 15th. The publisher had approached the High Court on Monday, challenging the October 30th order of the Urban Development Ministry ending its 56-year-old lease and asking it to vacate the premises in the press enclave at ITO. On to some more news, the Supreme Court issued notice to the Centre and the Jammu and Kashmir government today on a plea challenging the validity of the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. The notice, issued by a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court, headed by Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, came on a petition filed by 4 people, including Malegaon blast accused and former army officer Major Ramesh Upadhyay. Calling it discriminatory, the petition says the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir is against the Constitution of India. The petition also challenged Article 370 of the Indian Constitution that confers special autonomous status to the state. The petition has been attached with other petitions challenging Article 35A. The Delhi High Court has dismissed the bail plea of middleman Manoj Prasad in a bribery case allegedly involving CBI Special Director Rakesh Asthana. The court said allegations against Manoj Prasad were serious in nature and the investigation was at a crucial stage. While Prasad is in his bail plea, had claimed that he was not required for custodial interrogation. The CBI said that Prasad was an influential person and if released on bail, he may tamper with the ongoing probe. Prasad was arrested by the CBI on 17th of October and is currently in judicial custody. Dassault Aviation CEO Eric Trappier has rubbished allegations levelled by Congress President Rahul Gandhi in connection with the Rafale fighter jets deal between India and France. Responding to the allegations, he said, "I don't have a reputation of lying." He further added that the first deal with India was struck in 1953. He clarified Dassault chose Ambani by itself, adding it already has 30 partners other than Reliance. Trappier also said that Dassault is not investing the money in Reliance but in a joint venture that included Dassault. Rahul Gandhi had alleged that Dassault invested 284 crore rupees in a loss-making company promoted by Anil Ambani, which was used to procure land in Nagpur.
I said we decided to go ahead with the group Reliance. Within the group Reliance, they are brothers, but they still have their mother. They are together the sons of the former lead of the company, Ambani, and it's a big group. So it was totally in line with the family group to go ahead with Reliance. He is right, because if I break the law in my country, I will have to face problems, which is not the case. I mean, I am totally clean in front of the laws of my country. I am French, I live in France, my company has more than 100 years, so we are totally clean in France. We are also totally clean as far as Dassault is concerned in India. So everyone is looking at Dassault for a long time. It has always been the case. So if we would have made something wrong, it would have been known. But I have to answer to this question to the officials of the country. The official of my country, I know them very well. The officials of India is the government of India with their own rules. So everyone from the official asking me question, I will answer to the question. I'm totally transparent.
Meanwhile, in Karnataka, the mortal remains of Union Minister and senior BJP leader Ananthkumars were consigned to flames in Bengaluru with full state honours on Tuesday evening. Ananthkumars' brother Nandakumar performed the last rites and lit the funeral pyre amidst chanting of Vedic hymns by priests. A stream of leaders led by Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today paid their last respects to Ananthkumars, who passed away yesterday. Earlier, the mortal remains of Kumar were kept in National College grounds in Baswanaguri to facilitate the public to pay their last respects to their beloved leader. Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid his last respects to Ananthkumars at the departed leader's residence in Baswanaguri last night. The Karnataka government had declared a 3-day state mourning. And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. You are watching News Tonight, and now all the election news in Battleground 2018. BJP President Amit Shah on Tuesday addressed several rallies in poll-bound Chhattisgarh. While addressing a public meeting in Baloda Bazar, Shah targeted Congress party on several issues. He also addressed a series of public meetings in Ghargoda, Jaipur, Takhatpur and Saja town of the state. Meanwhile, Congress President Rahul Gandhi is also on a two-day election campaign to the state, addressing an election rally at Mahasamund. He assured to provide jobs to the youths and waive off farmers' loan if came to power in the poll-bound Chhattisgarh. Rahul Gandhi also accused the state government of ignoring farmers, women and the issue of corruption in the state. Rahul Gandhi also addressed several rallies in Baloda Bazar, Janjgir, Champa and Raigarh areas.
पंद्रह साल से यहाँ बीजेपी की सरकार है और अब 4.5 साल से दिल्ली में नरेंद्र मोदी जी प्रधानमंत्री। आपने सपना देखा था कि छत्तीसगढ़ जो अमीर प्रदेश है, जिसके पास सब कुछ है, जल, जंगल, जमीन, माइंस, मिनरल्स, ये इस प्रदेश का धन छत्तीसगढ़ के किसान को, छत्तीसगढ़ के माताएं बहनों को, युवाओं को मिले और इस धन का प्रयोग छत्तीसगढ़ की जनता के भविष्य के लिए, ये सोचकर आपने प्रदेश बनाया और आप लड़े। मगर 15 साल में आपको पता लगा और पूरी दुनिया ने देखा कि बीजेपी की सरकार ने आपका धन छीनकर चुने हुए लोगों को दिया।
And the Election Commission is on a two-day visit to Madhya Pradesh to review poll preparedness. The Election Commission team conducted meetings of Divisional Commissioner, Inspector General of Police, District Election Officer and Superintendent of Police of 18 districts of Indore, Ujjain, Narmadapuram Division. The Election Commission also met with recognized national political parties in Bhopal. The team will review election preparedness in the remaining 33 districts on Wednesday. A total of 4,157 nomination forms were submitted in the state after the election notification. The last date of withdrawal of nomination is on Wednesday. Polling will be held for the 230-member assembly on 28th of November. Well, that was all the election news. Moving on to some other news. An interim report released by Food Safety and Standards Authority of India says that milk in India is largely safe despite some quality issues. According to the National Milk Quality Survey, less than 10% of the total samples had contaminants that make milk unsafe for consumption. Over 90% of samples were found safe. The 6-month-long survey took 6,432 samples from 1,100 towns and cities in India with population of over 50,000. The survey tested for 13 adulterants, including vegetable oil, detergents, glucose, urea and ammonium sulfate. Milk samples were also tested to check levels of contaminants like antibiotic residue, pesticide residue and alpha toxin M1. The contaminants were mainly from poor farm practices and quality of feed.
रॉ मिल्क में क्वालिटी की समस्या ज़्यादा देखी गई है। उसके कारण का अभी विश्लेषण किया जाएगा। उसमें हो सकता है कि पानी मिलाने से वो दूध को डाइल्यूट किया जा रहा हो, लेकिन पानी मिलाने से अगर दूध को डाइल्यूट किया जा रहा है, उसमें पब्लिक हेल्थ कंसर्न कोई विशेष नहीं है, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर हम लोग दूध को बॉयल करने के बाद में पीते हैं।
The Cyclone Gaja in the West Central Bay of Bengal has moved further towards Tamil Nadu coast. As per the IMD, it is centered about 740 kilometers east of Chennai and 830 kilometers east-northeast of Nagapattinam. The weather system is likely to intensify into a severe cyclonic storm in the next 24 hours and the drift towards west-southwest direction. It is said to make a landfall between Pamban and Cuddalore after weakening into a cyclonic storm in the forenoon on Thursday. The Met Department has warned that isolated places may experience extreme heavy rain. Fishermen have been asked not to venture out into the sea. 4 teams from the State Disaster Response Force have also been sent to the vulnerable places. People have been asked to be indoors during the landfall of the cyclone. And in the latest twist in the Sri Lankan political crisis, the Supreme Court on Tuesday overturned the Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena's decision to dissolve the parliament. The top court, which was hearing petitions filed by supporters of sacked Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, stayed the president's order on technical grounds. The Supreme Court also stopped the preparations for the snap elections on 5th of January. Sirisena had dissolved the Sri Lankan parliament last week and called a general election for 5th of January, 2 weeks after removing his coalition Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. And that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. But before we leave, Stan Lee, the creator of Spider-Man, Iron Man, Daredevil, X-Men and many other comics, passed away in Los Angeles. He was 95 years old. A Marvel legend, Lee revolutionized pop culture as the co-creator of iconic superheroes who now dominate the world's movie screens. As a writer and editor, Lee was key to the ascension of Marvel into a comic book titan in 1960s, when, in collaboration with artists such as Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, he created superheroes who would enthrall generations of young readers. Lee was widely credited with adding a new layer of complexity and humanity to superheroes. His creation included web-slinging teenager Spider-Man, the muscle-bound Hulk, mutant outsiders, the X-Men, the close-knit Fantastic Four, and the playboy inventor Tony Stark, better known as Iron Man. We leave you with a glimpse of his grand career. Thank you for watching.
News of Stan Lee passing is very sad. He's a great figure of history.
Oh man, it was actually like one of my dreams to actually meet Stan Lee.
It's really sad to hear that because he was a pioneer. He's a legend.
This lost one of the greats, one of the comic greats, you know. This introduction to the comics was watching Stan Lee, and I don't know, just, I don't really have any other words besides that. Just a sad day.